Welcome to ReReview, where we watch movies from our past with a perspective from today. Your hosts are Matt, Bobby, and Austin, and we love the films from our youth, so we're taking a look back to see if they still hold up. On this episode, we're discussing Can't Hardly Wait. It was released in 1998 and directed by Harry Alfond and Deborah Kaplan. It stars Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ethan Embry, and Charlie Cosmo. This is another high school movie that tries to answer the great question, does he ever get the girl? Now, this is a fair warning. We're spoiling a 26-year-old movie, so if you haven't seen it, we will be revealing key plot points. I think by this point, I've walked you all through quite a few variations on this particular theme, which will probably need to culminate in an American Pie at some point. But it's a high school. Well, how do I describe this? It is sort of the same pain I think we felt in some of the others, with some moments of laughter and joy in there, because I did catch some laughter in there. So don't judge me too harshly for this. But you have the ensemble cast, which I guess the first question I asked is this the movie that made so many people famous, right? No, I know it's not really it, but we had a lot of
so many familiar faces.
So many familiar faces. But the ensemble cast of everyone kind of playing their role between jock and nerd and confused kid and homecoming queen and homecoming queen's friends. And you know what? It was Jennifer freaking Love Hewitt. All right. All right. And this is why we re-review, because we got to see if these things hold up. And I have not seen this movie in a very, very long time. I think, Matt, this is your first viewing, right?
Yes, I don't think I have not watched this movie all the way through. I might have watched a part of it, like on TV. I think when Seth Green is at the mirror, I think I saw that part. But in my mind, I don't know why, but I was blending this and She's All That into the same movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, it's my first full time watching it.
Are all one big same movie.
They all go to the same school. It's just different parts. It's all different part of the same party.
Bobby, when was the first time you saw this?
I don't think I saw it in the theater. I think it was some kind of, I don't know, like premium channel kind of situation, maybe.
Like Showtime or
HBO or
I was like, wait.
Cinemax late at night. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we watched different movies. I might favor the one you saw, though. Everything takes place, and because it's high school, and the idea is that they're going on to college, so you have your homecoming queen breaking up with the big jock because life has got to change, and he thinks he needs to get laid, and she's not good enough for him. But it all centers around a big house party. So I think one of my questions for you is, do you remember going to those type of house parties in your youth? And did any of this experience line up for you?
Okay, so first off, who the F are you talking to, man? Like, I don't know if you're looking at the two of us right now, but you're asking that question?
I am asking that question.
The only thing I was attending that was anything like this, it was LAN parties. That's it. That's all I was going to. Halo and Smash Brothers. And I didn't even touch alcohol until I was like 22. Are you kidding me?
Okay, Bobby, how about you?
Same. I think my parties were
I refuse to believe that.
I mean, maybe like a Halloween party or something, but I was never nothing like this, really.
I've always said it's kind of this, it's this phase that I think kids go through, or humans go through, especially when you're imbibing in alcohol. And obviously, Matt and Bobby, you're proving me wrong here, but whatever. For the most part, you're young, you can't afford booze, so you get the cheapest beer, and everyone hangs out at a house, and you party, and there's music, and there's shenanigans. The high school piece, give or take, it happened then, and it happens post high school. Then eventually, you kind of grow up a little bit, and then everyone starts going out, and then you spend your money. Then eventually you get old enough and you have kids and you buy a home and you realize you can't afford to go out anymore. So you start having house parties again because you invite everyone over.
Okay. It's a big circle. Okay.
So wait. So you're saying I'm going to get a second chance of this is what you're trying to tell me.
Awesome.
Yeah,
finally.
Right.
You will absolutely get your second chance.
All right.
I think we have to do a get together and everyone has to play their designated high school role. Bobby, you're a basketball player, so you can be the jock. Oh my God.
Oh no.
So bad. The whole point of this movie is they're just setting up our poor boy Preston, right? Our good old anti-protagonist. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that was my problem watching this. I don't know what group he falls into. Like, he's just outside, and it's not even like he was like the kind of character that you would see in a lot of movies where like he gets along well with a bunch of other groups of people, you know, like not really the cool kid, but the one that just everyone's kind of friends with. Like, I thought maybe he was going to be in that category, but it didn't seem to really feel that, to be honest. So I'm kind of confused. Everyone else is in their little boxes except
Jennifer
for
Love
Preston.
Hewitt,
he's like the dude
homecoming queen.
He's like the dude pixie. This is like the reverse. He's like the manic pixie dude.
He solved J-Lo's problems. Notice I called her J-Lo. Forgive me. That was way too intimate of me.
Wow.
you had the character William, who was the nerd, and then realized Denise, the Lauren Ambrose character, she was like the alt girl. Is that the best way you could describe it? Like, she might have been goth in any films that happened after this, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought what they were kind of going for, but alt girl is probably about the closest that I think it could be. It's like the counter, you know, cheerleader or whatever. Not necessarily goth, but she's definitely not the one that's going to go to pep rallies and stuff.
And then Seth Green as Kenny Fisher was just the poser, right? That's all it was at the end of the day.
No, he was Malibu's Most Wanted. Like that, he was 100% that character.
Which ultimately was that movie just spawned because of this.
I'm guessing Jamie Kennedy watched this and he was like, I've got an idea, guys.
I think one of the things we all noticed, and it was pointed out right away, is this movie seemed like a driver for the soundtrack, right? And we found that they didn't even include all the songs we heard in this film from all the artists from, oh my gosh, what did we have? We had Creed, Barry Manilow, Sublime, Third Eye Blind, Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes. This was all over the place. And I think it was driving you crazy, right, Bobby?
Oh, yeah. Like, it was like, wow. Like, it was a little bit distracting me because it was like, oh, pop song. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. And so it was like, oh, all these songs. And it was just like one after the other. And they'd play little pieces of them.
Now, I would have forgiven it personally if it only did that at the party. I would have been okay with it because then you could have just argued that was literally just the music playing during the party.
Right.
I would have been okay with that. But the fact that it happens before and after, they kind of throws it for a loop. It's like what they did on like Suicide Squad, where literally they're just trying to throw in whatever was there. It was like what was the, now that's what I call music of the time. It's what it was. Yes. God, and I know if there's anyone under 25 or even 30 listening to this, they don't even know what I just said.
Biggest hits of the 90s or whatever those things were.
Oh, I want the that version, the Can't Hardly Wait. Now that's what you call music. I did find a 42 track playlist, so it is what it is. I appreciated, our first introduction to Amanda was coming into Sneaker Pump's 6 Underground, and that's when I immediately started looking at the soundtrack and going, wow, they didn't even put this song on the soundtrack. So it was a lot of snippets to remind you. I think what also drove me a little bit crazy was anytime they hinted at the music playing at the party, you'd have all the people interacting in the background like they were dancing, and they just were not dancing to.
Yeah. Well, what was weird too is they were playing all those songs, but they had a band.
Yes, that we never heard, right?
Yeah, like the music was confusing.
So you wanted to listen to the band. I think one of the things we also talked about, just because it was a bit interesting, is normally with all these movies, and at least some of the others we've watched, the actors playing the roles are much older than in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, they look like it. I mean,
right. Well, there's that like rule. There's a like kids rule in movies, right? Does that go all the way up to 18, or is it younger than that? Because there's some rule where kids can only work like certain amount of hours a day, like 6 hours a day or something, and they have to like take classes or something like that. But there's like very limited, like kids in movies is like there's a lot of limitations put on them.
But is it? But okay, even ignoring that, is this just because of the time? Because I'm watching like something like Umbrella Academy, and they have like was 5 or whatever his name is or whatever. Kid's like in his mid-20s, but still looks like he's like 15.
Yeah,
like you can cast people who are older but look younger. But everyone here who's
Sure.
if you would have told me what was Preston was 45, I would have like, yeah. Telling me he's 20, I'm like, no.
Poor guy and his relatable receding hairline.
You can't fight it, right? You can't fight Father Time even if it hits you at 18. Yeah, seeing that with Seth Green was one of the oldest people in the movie itself, and he looked younger than most of the cast. Sometimes you got to get adults to play the kids. It's a lot of, I don't even want to say set pieces. It's a lot of just random shenanigans that kept happening over and over. And I think that's where I saw Matt's poor face, just like, why is this?
But it's, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I understand that the basic structure of a movie is in here. There is an inciting incident. There are like the arcs that you would expect as far as like the script goes, but nothing really takes me on a real journey as I'm watching this movie, and very few characters arc at all. Like, and when they do, they're baby arcs at best. Like Preston has a little baby arc. Basically, the only thing that he arcs is going from not being able to say a word to her to being able to say something to her. And then he gets verbally beat up by her right afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess we could talk about it now because I figured that was like the quintessential moment of the movie. Only because there's so much leading up to it, right? Let's start with Preston. He's basically an incel, right? Is that...
I mean, in today's day, I mean, you heard me while we were watching this. I was borderline waiting for the Netflix documentary about how he became a serial killer or something, a stalker / serial killer.
Right.
Which is why that blow up was so amazing. That was exactly what I wanted her to say.
He is the first to meet her at high school, according to his story. Basically is obsessed with her from that moment.
And she ignored him in those scenes. Yeah,
didn't even know he existed.
Didn't even say hi as she went by, like just blew on by.
Way to make her sound like she was an ass. It was her first day at a new school.
And she dated the jerk jock for, what was it, 3 to 4 years or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Because he showed her around school first. Isn't that how it works in high school?
The bar is so low for this lady.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his connection to her is they were eating the same strawberry Pop-Tart. Don't judge me for this, but I had to write it down. What was your favorite Pop-Tart? I just want to know.
I like to like cherry, like what is it, strawberry or cherry something?
I'm so stoked you answered that so quick.
No, man, that stuff was good.
So unhealthy.
Good way to start a day.
Come from? Matt, did you eat Pop-Tarts?
Make it sound like a past thing. I had it for breakfast this morning.
Oh no.
He called it like a breakfast pastry, like they weren't allowed to say.
Oh, he didn't even use Pop-Tart. Oh, I was like, man, did Pop-Tart throw some money at this? To who owns Pop-Tarts? Did they like throw some money in this? But no, they just call it a breakfast pastry. Weak.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
Walmart brand, great value.
If you're still eating Pop-Tarts, I applaud you, sir. I'm
trying to die before 50. Come on, give me.
Oh, mine was definitely was it the brown sugar one? Whatever.
Yeah. No, I definitely like the fruit one, like strawberry.
But still delicious. Nevertheless, this whole thing is he writes a letter to Amanda expressing his love to this girl who he knows nothing about, and really goes on a journey of trying to interact with her and fails miserably. And this is why his arc, like you mentioned,
as should be expected.
Wait, why is it expected?
If you write a love letter to somebody and they don't know you, like their response maybe shouldn't be rude or angry or whatever, but it's just like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know if the letter, like, they didn't really say what it is, right? It's not like it's some super eloquent, like Shakespeare thing.
We have no idea what he actually said in that letter.
Right.
But you have an idea. It's probably a lot of cringe and pain.
Right.
I still make the argument. I don't think that there's no indicator. Maybe I missed it, but there's no indicator as to why he even likes her beyond the cosmic coincidences of the Pop-Tart and Barry Manilow. Apparently, like, there's nothing to say like, oh, well, I like Amanda because of I saw one time when she saved a puppy, or I like literally his reasons could be just as shallow as everyone else's.
Yeah, I think that goes two ways. I don't see why she likes him, and I don't see why he likes her either.
I could disagree with that one.
Okay, I want to hear that.
I think they very much set up before the end of it the fact that for whatever reason, this amazingly gorgeous, popular everything girl or whatever, I guess no one was ever honest or, just upfront with her about like anything related beyond like the shallowness of high school life. And so her reading this note, it made her, I don't know what you want to call it or whatever, but it fulfilled some aspect of wanting to be seen, I guess. Like really be seen. They didn't set up any reason why like she should be seen. Like there's nothing saying like, oh, well, when she was in middle school, she was the nerd or picked on or something that would kind of justify like, I just want to be seen as for who I am and not what I look like. They didn't quite set that up, but at least I could see why.
She tried,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
There was a small moment where she said, at my previous school, I was a nobody, when she was talking to her cousin lover who wanted her.
Yes.
I'll still go back to my note. I said, isn't it a shame how the world treats beautiful women? Isn't that what we learned from this movie?
She's such an unfortunate prom queen and most popular, most likely to succeed, and probably everything else she was in that yearbook.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But it does lead up. We're bashing Preston pretty hard here because he goes on a journey where he meets his guardian stripper angel. And I mean, don't we all feel like we need a little guardian stripper angel in our lives to just point us on the right path?
I do.
I don't like the way you said that. I don't like the way you said that at all.
I do. Is that better?
But he gets advice, he moves on, and how many times I felt like he left the party like 10 times and came back 10 times, right? Just with his bouncing of, am I gonna talk to this woman or not? And
yeah, I was confused by the timeline until they said it was like 2 a.m, and then I was like, oh, okay,
No.
Thank you for giving us
You're
that
it's late
time reference.
But we get the big blow up, right? Because Mike, who's the jock who broke up with Amanda, at some point says, I didn't want a relationship because I think in college I'm going to get laid all the time. Oh, keep in mind, he also had his guardian jock angel, which was Jerry Maguire, right? No,
Jerry O'Connell.
Right,
Jerry O'Connell, yes. Thank you.
Jerry Maguire, that's a different...
Who wasn't Jerry Maguire, so
he
good
was.
call.
Yeah, that's...
Good call, yes.
That's a right brain. I'm trying to remember the show he was on in the late, whatever.
Sliders?
Yeah, Sliders.
Oh,
thank you.
Sliders.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yes. He gets his guardian jock angel who reminds him that relationships are hard to hold on to, so you should probably hold on to your high school sweetheart. He goes in, tries to get back with her, and this is where we get the blow up scene of, I deserve better than you, Sir Mike, and she walks off. And at this point, they decide to have a barrage of men just accost her. To say, hey, let's go get it on.
I'm still confused by that because everyone was already fully aware that they had broken up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why all of a sudden they were like, oh, she's available?
Yeah, they sensed her her emotion or whatever and was like, oh, now's a good time to try this.
That doesn't sound good.
No.
I know. I'm just saying this is what it looks like. Emotion. This is what it looked like to me. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do.
I will say, and this is still saying the vein of that very moment or whatever, but the biggest disappointment I have in this movie was Mike. Because it really felt like they were going somewhere with his arc, that he was going to have some self-realization, that he had, went on a limb to kind of take the bullet for what was his name?
For William.
Mm-hmm. And then he just reverts back at the thing or whatever, and then they do the little stop frame, and I'm just like, I'm baffled as to why because they had the guardian angel moment. They had it was almost like they could have had the two parallel paths between them,
right?
Between Preston and Mike, and to just kind of show how they progress. And then they just dump Mike at the end. Like, he didn't deserve a happy ending, but they set it up to be more than what it turned out to be.
Oh yeah, because he apologized to William for how he treated him
that morning. Yeah.
For that morning, but still.
And then, well, do you think they did it the way they did it to kind of show that Amanda like made the right choice and that this is not going to go down the right direction if they continued?
You still could have that they can still leave off the way that it is, but he could still have discovered something in the process of all that. But for whatever reason, in the diner scene, they just flip him. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like there was something else where they actually had a different ending. And then for whatever reason went with that one.
Ooh, can't hardly wait alternate endings.
It's weird. Like, I know they had a rated R version of this that they had to cut to get to the PG-13. I don't know if that was somewhere on the cutting room floor, but it just felt really weird. It was like, maybe it was the writer director saying like, well, there is no, happy ending real thing, but then they do the train station. So clearly he was going, or they were going into a very fantasy version of this, but like, why do all that work then to just dump it? Whatever.
Well, no, I think there's an important thing here, because you'd mentioned this too in terms of when the movie should have ended. We're still back at that quintessential scene where Amanda just breaks Preston down to a T to basically say, you have conjured up an image or an understanding of me, and you don't even know me. So how dare you, sir?
Which was totally true. At this point,
yes. And I appreciate it, because at this point, Matt was elated and said, yes, God, yes. Tear that man down and let's this movie be over.
Yeah. Honestly, again, because maybe if they would have done something differently to establish reasoning. And again, this is where like maybe how they start these kind of movies off. I think you'd even point out why they always start off at graduation. One of these kind of movies. Mm-hmm. Maybe like if they would have established something that would show, oh, well, beyond the Pop-Tart, this over fantasized version of you're my destiny, essentially. It's kind of like the legit in Back to the Future with his parents, where like he's trying to say like you're my destiny or whatever. Like literally, I can imagine this guy saying
you're
that.
My density.
I could see that, and that was the reality of it. Is he had fantasized over this one moment from 4 years earlier. No established that anything else had happened since then.
Between then, yeah.
Between then. I mean, she didn't even know he existed, even though he was literally right next to her for at least a year.
Right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought maybe there was an implicit understanding that he got to know more about her, but that would have been from that creepy stalker scenario.
Yeah.
She had to ask people, who is this? And she needed to look at a yearbook to finally see that the person she berated is the person who wrote her this transformative letter that moved her heart so much. Not enough.
Yeah.
Clearly not enough.
Yeah.
Understanding that they do get together at the end. I think this was it was all about him like taking a chance on a moment, right? Did you get any satisfaction out of them doing the train station scene?
I was trying to think like, how could it have been different? How could it have been like a situation where maybe she's like, look, I like the letter, like it said something to me, but this is not going to be a relationship.
I agree with that. I think that the outside of potential probably test screenings that might have altered the way things went potentially, I think that her blowing up at him was completely 100% correct. It should have been a transformative moment for him to kind of like look internally and be like, yeah, I romanticized this moment over and over in my head, and I created an image of her that wasn't real. I didn't actually see her for who she was, yada, yada, yada. Same thing with her. She's like, thank you for seeing more than a pair of boobs, I guess, or whatever, and saying all those things or whatever. But, that's it. He gets on the train, she walks away, they smile. That's still a happy ending. You grow as a person. That's perfectly okay. You don't have to make out at the end and imply that they get married and have kids and all that other kind of stuff like it tried to seem to imply. Like, no, you don't need that. And it was unearned.
One of my notes at the end is, if only they didn't kiss. Like, if you're gonna have them have this moment, they don't need to make out. Like, give them the opportunity to be like, we're two characters that don't know each other, that maybe we're going to take the time to figure that piece out, but now it just seems like she's still on her rebound, right? Which sounds terrible. Sounds absolutely terrible. We went through the end. I have to ask, were there any gags you actually appreciated? Because there were quite a bit of them. No, that is a lot of thinking.
I think the thing that just stood out to me was just how many familiar faces there were and all the different people and like all the different kinds of things that they had them all doing. Like Jason Segel had his like inappropriately gross watermelon situation he had, and they had him like this weird slurping sound, and like
he was fondling that watermelon.
And then there's just so many people from so many different things. So I mean, like I feel like I have to hand it to the casting who just found so many people to just stick out, where these all could have just been extras, but they somehow ended up finding people who had long careers.
Were they not extras at the time? No, I mean,
I guess they were.
It was 98. How popular was he then?
Featured extras, I guess.
Who else did we see in there? I thought we said Selma Blair. Oh, it was a Buffy thing, right? It was
Tara. Tara's actress was in it, and then who else? I mean, obviously we had Jerry O'Connell was in there. There was a bunch of like small, like Jamie Presley was in it.
Like, Eric Bellflower.
Like there's a bunch of ones that like, oh, I recognize that person. We probably wouldn't necessarily remember their name. Like, oh, that person. Oh, that person. And then there was a whole bunch of them like, that looks like somebody. It's almost like they couldn't get that person. And so they got their stunt double.
Was this the Eric Bana?
Eric Bana and Justin Long. And there was a couple. I was like, that's not Tyrese, right? No, that's not Tyrese. No. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. As it comes to high school movies, and there's still a lot we haven't seen yet, guys.
Oh no.
There's still a lot we haven't seen yet.
That sounds like
you referenced She's All That, which came out in 1999, so a year later. It's just one big movie. We're just watching a multi-part series.
I like my issue with this movie, I think, above some of the other ones that we've watched, and I mean the ones we've watched for this or whatever has been kind of meh. But the ones that I think tend to stick out of my mind, I feel like the reason why they tend to stand out more than anything else is I can identify what the plot is in those movies. This one didn't feel like there was a coherent plot to it. Because like you look at something like American Pie, where they are very clearly stating that all of them were trying to get laid. And it culminates in a party all the same. But because you're very clear of who these characters are and what their individual wants and goals and everything else is at the very beginning, because it's still more high school leading up to that party, you get to really understand who the characters are and why they're trying to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish and how they get to that point, right? So each one of the characters get to it differently. This doesn't do that. Like we didn't spend any time prior to the party establishing who they were. And so what they're trying to accomplish, there's a couple of them you can kind of see, right?
Wait, they tried to do that like yearbook thing where they would do like the screenshot of like, hey, here's the snapshot of who this person is.
Their quote and all that.
Yeah.
I think try was the operative word there, Bobby. I think try was
this is like, oh, wait, we didn't introduce any of these people and no one's going to remember any of their names.
Look,
like, what
I just want us to have a collection of shows where we watch all of these. Let me be. Bobby, are you recommending Can't Hardly Wait?
Well, I mean, as much as I'd like to, I have to say that I just think that there's other movies that I think fulfill this kind of genre in a more satisfying way.
I think, Matt, we could really talk about character growth. Look at Bobby. Amazing.
My arc is coming.
I know. This is just, I am breaking this man down. Matt, do you recommend Can't Hardly Wait?
No, I can't recommend Can't Hardly Wait. I think that there's to Bobby, you know what he's saying. I think that if you really want to watch something like this, I mean, I would go for like Mean Girls, Superbad, Easy A, like even Bring It On. Like there's so many other high school movies I think I'd recommend. American Pie, if you're old enough and your parents aren't in the room with you.
Election.
Yeah, Election. Like there's so many other good movies that are in the same vein as this that I think do a much better job at telling a story with better characters. I think that you can probably watch this one in a marathon of them to appreciate the better ones. It's not the worst one I've seen. I will say that much. This is not the worst.
You're giving Austin ideas.
Yeah, I guess there's that.
Oh my goodness. It may not be the worst, but for a historical understanding of what was a precursor to American Pie, maybe it's worth your eyes.
No, I appreciated the historical precursor.
I'm making a very thinly veiled argument to say, yeah, maybe watch it, but maybe put some weight behind what both Bobby and Matt are saying. Oh my goodness. Well, that's Can't Hardly Wait. As always, thank you for listening. And remember, there is such a thing as fate, but it only takes you so far. Then it's up to you to make it happen.